How about now? Can you hear and see me okay? I've just refreshed everything. Let me know. I think what was happening is I had another stream scheduled, and for some reason YouTube connected to that one. But now it should be working. I can see myself in the playback. Can you hear me? Can now? Is that retired on crypto? Can you let me know if that's just picture, or can you hear me as well? Let me know. Once I get the thumbs up, I'll crack on. All good now, both. Okay, great. Apologies. I think YouTube actually cocked up there. That's all good. Okay, cool. Well, how are you guys doing? I hope you're all well. Hope you're having a nice Saturday morning. Well done for tuning in on the weekend once again, making some good progress in your journey and listening to me ramble about the markets. Appreciate it. Okay, cool. So let's start BTC side. Just pull this across here. So obviously we've had this big Trump nuke here, the tariff nuke, and since then we have been range bound for 21 days. So pretty stagnant price action here, not much to action apart from if you took a short up here at the highs. Full disclosure, I didn't take a short up here at the highs. Reason being is because we'd had the largest liquidation event in crypto's history here, so really I'm looking for this to be a sort of capitulation event, clear out, and looking for long positions more than anything, to be completely honest. Delta wise, also there was nothing particularly significant up here, right? So this is actually where it took place here. Right, so liquidation and delta wise, really nothing of too much significance at all. What I'm not really liking about the delta page at the moment is how little positive delta is needed to produce any sort of sell-off. What I mean by that is we have these small spikes of blue here, and again here, and again here, and then they're knocking price down. So when we talk about delta, for those that don't know, we're always talking about absorption and trying to work out where the more influential market participants are trying to move price. Okay. Now, that is the core purpose of the delta templates for sure, but there is a secondary purpose, which is trying to work out and read the delta in a deeper sense in terms of the dynamics of the delta. Okay, so what I mean by dynamics is how much delta does it take to move price, basically. Okay, and then talking about pro trend versus counter trend delta, etc. So as we know, BTC very much still in a higher time frame uptrend for now. Okay, so we're in a higher time frame uptrend, and what that means is that it should take very little negative delta to move price, because that's aligned with the trend. But we should be seeing really that larger amounts of positive delta are being put in without them having effect on price, which is not the case what's happening at the moment. Okay, so either that means the damage isn't done in this area, or something slightly more insidious. Now, if we look at the weekly time frame, we're at a very, very key point. We've been at this point for a long time. I will have to talk about this demand zone once again. So apologies for those that have watched the last few live streams. But at this point, this pocket of intra-demand, formed by way of an impulse, cluster and impulse, is heavily over-exhausted. Okay, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you're counting all the candles, and all the wicks, 6 taps into this zone. So as you can see, I have it down here as weak SD, okay, because it's been tapped into. Anything more than 2 taps for me is weakened. And to be honest, even 1 tap in some scenarios can be constituted as weak. But here we have 5 or 6, okay? So if we have any closes into this zone, let's say in the next, on this week's close in a 1 day, 14 hours, we close back into the zone, then I'm basically just going to remove this entirely, okay? Because then it would be an invalidated demand zone. For now, I'm keeping it up. For now, we are holding the weekly 50 level, okay? So we've been here for a minute. And as you can see, we're having that sort of double tap structure onto the weekly midpoint on the RSI. So for now, everything's all good, right? There's no cause for concern in this area for now, but this demand zone has been weakened to a great degree, and we don't want to see, or bulls don't want to see rather, any closes back into this zone, okay? You can see we're pretty much just bracketing here, very much range bound, especially if we go down to the 4 hour. Now, for a good while, I've been scanning the 4 hour as my primary time frame, and I've been finding that conducive to better performance, to be completely honest. Whilst the market as a whole isn't hyper directional. Prior to that, when the market was more directional and we were starting to have ALTS that were moving in harmony, etc., my primary was the hourly, but I've been on the 4 hour for quite a while now, and basically just trying to, I've been speaking about this for a long time, so anyone who's followed my content for a few months or longer knows that I've been trying to adapt and slowly move towards position trading as opposed to swing trading. And what I mean by that is trading the slightly higher time frames. So naturally, I would like the 4 hour to become my sort of primary time frame, to be completely honest, which will give me stronger signals, because the higher the time frame, the higher the validity, and it's a happy balance between the 1 hour and say the 12 hour, whereby I'll probably be losing value by missing out on some trade opportunities. That being said, it's all regime dependent, okay? So if we're in hyper trending conditions to the upside or the downside, then I'll go back to the hourly, maybe even lower down to the 30-minute, and those sort of time frames. If we're looking at the 4 hour here, basically the cause for concern in this area is twofold, okay? Number one, we have small spikes of positive delta that are having great impact on price. Number two, the 4 hour picture in particular, the RSI is just curling here, okay? So if you look at this interaction with the midpoint, it's curling just underneath this 50 level, and at the moment looks like it's to be resistance, okay? So if we want to see an immediate local move up from BTC, then essentially what we need to do is something like this, reclaim the mid and push away from there, okay? So something like this, all right? What may in fact occur is this just curls over, okay? The 50 acts as resistance. BTC then goes down and potentially wipes out these double stack lows here, potentially, okay? I'm not saying that will happen. I'm saying this is an outcome that I'm prepared for, okay? Now, actually, we'll just finish off on BTC quickly and then move on to ETH. For now says so much, yeah, for sure. It's a difficult time to predict what's going on. I mean, we're in unprecedented waters as well, with the biggest liquidation event in crypto's history just having taken place. So I'm not in the business of trying to predict what's going on here. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not going to rub the crystal ball. Instead, I'm being very stringent. I'm being very patient at the moment. And waiting for the dust to settle truly, okay? And not just the dust to settle, because the dust has sort of settled in this area post-nuke, but I'm waiting for some price action resolve, in a sense, whereby we either come up and, break out this range, hold, or, as I just pointed out, we come down, take out these double stack lows, for instance, and then move up from this area here. Whilst we're range bound, and you can see here, if I just take these away, take this away, take this. Then we can map out a very, very clean basic range here. Okay, so a very clean range we have here on the 4-hour. Many other markets, such as Sol, I believe Sui, etc., in this sort of environment and price action context, as well as, of course, Ethereum. So waiting for some sort of resolve, right? If any of you have seen my content on ranges, I have a dedicated video in the trading course. Then I talk about not diddling in the middle. Okay, and this is very much that. You can see that I've marked on this range, and we're extremely close to the midpoint or EQ here. And actioning anything in this area is not my forte. Okay, I'm very happy to sit on my hands. I've been taking very few trades, and I'm happy to do so. Okay, because this is me sort of leaning into and fostering and encouraging my discipline to grow, and that's no bad thing. Okay, so I'm very much of the school of thought that no position is a position. I say that over and over again to my students. Most of the content I put out on YouTube is around psychology and rewiring that psychology, you know, basically trying to fight the predisposition that we have as traders in terms of dopamine addiction and feeling good once we get wins, and only P&L wins make us feel like we're making progress, when in fact there's a whole host of other things that should be deemed as actual progress. And one of the videos I have scheduled to come out talks about P&L being a lagging indicator. Now, what I mean by that is that the hard work that you put in, the trades that you skip, the discipline that you nourish and encourage to grow, the patience, the stringency, working on your emotions and, you know, FOMO, greed, staying out of positions, not trading impulsively, emotionally. I could go on forever. Okay, all of these things to do with mastery of the mind and mastery of the self-restraint, discipline, etc. Those are the key metrics and the KPIs that you should really be working with, because P&L and positive equity growth follows as a result of that. But again, it's a lagging indicator. Okay, those you know, those benefits and that performance boost and essentially the money when it comes down to the bottom line only happens as a result of doing all the other stuff that happens in the shadows, that happens behind the curtains first. And one of the beginning lines in the new content that I scripted was, you're behind the curtains, the audience just hasn't arrived yet. Okay, and I will also use an analogy of a Polaroid, where you take a picture and it's blank for the moment and the picture still hasn't printed, and you basically have to survive that blank period. Okay, but all of these things in terms of, you know, mastery of the mind and patience and discipline, they're the hallmarks of all the great traders that I know. Okay, so again, you know, I'm no perfect trader by any means. I still have loads of work to do. I still consider myself in my nascent stages of my journey, and, you know, tons to learn, an eternal student of the markets. But every time I do skip trades, every time I do sort of harness that patience, I'm trying to train my brain to see that as the win, as opposed to the P&L win that will hopefully follow after. I hope that makes sense. Little psychology ramble. Greed ego video was great. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm trying to fill the gap in the space at the moment, because everything on YouTube, right? If you just look at anything that's on YouTube, it's all just garbage, basically. And if there is anything that's out there, then I'll pull this across quickly. It's all just, I mean, here I am. You know, basically it's all just technical analysis stuff. I mean, to be completely honest, right, gloves are off. These people can't fucking trade, right? All of these people that you're seeing here, none of them can trade. It's all just bullshit, right? And if you've gone through the markets for any amount of time, you'll know that. It's a sea of garbage. It's a sea of charlatans. And on top of that, what they're preaching here is just purely technical analysis. They basically just pinched out baby pips. And yeah, anyway, I'm not going to start slagging people off too much because that's a slippery slope, and I could basically just spend the whole stream doing so. That's not what you're here for. But psychology is where I'm aiming to sort of take the channel, and because I've said before, right, trading is 90% psychology. So why is there less than 10% of the content out there in education about psychology? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, that by itself shows that it's a sham, right? People just trying to sell you a new indicator or whatever. It's bullshit. Really and truly, it is. You need to be your own agents in this day and age. You have to be very careful about who you're absorbing information from. I do feel very strongly about that. So ETH, right? ETH is a very interesting spot here. Not a spot I feel particularly comfortable about, to be completely honest, which is why I'm tentative to move and rush into any long positions. We have these two stacked highs up here, right? But we're taking out this though, number one. We didn't take out this though, okay? Number two, nor three, and then we've got four all the way down here, okay? So I just don't feel particularly comfortable in this area, and you know what? I could be completely wrong, right? I could be, like I've said before, I'm rubbish at predicting, okay? I don't claim to be good at predicting what the markets are going to do. I'm someone who reacts to the markets. I've honed my skill in that area. I wait for everything to align. I wait for the right levels of confluence to line up, and I use trend and how powerful the trend is to scale up or scale down that confluence, and basically action my trades appropriately based on the strength of the trend. By means of the stronger the trend, the less confluence I need to enter. Just want to catch a ride on the train. And the weaker the trend, or the more range bound, the more confluence I need and the more stars I need to align. Okay, so in this area with Ethereum, I'm just not feeling too comfortable about these two unswept lows here being local. We also have that exact same curling pattern underneath the 50 level on the 4 hour here. So again, if I start seeing stuff like this, right, reclaim the mid on the RSI, reclaim the 50 level perhaps on and mid-range point here, then, and do so with little delta as well, then maybe we can make an argument that the damage is done. Until then, we're hovering just underneath these unswept lows, and even if we don't come all the way down to the 3, 4, 3, 5s and lower, right, because there's another low down here, right, so these are two more stacked lows. We've got two stacked lows here, two more stacked lows, and the distance between them is 6%, give or take. Okay, so I would like to see, at the minimum, these local ones taken out, at the minimum. Okay, and if not, then perhaps something like this as well. And I would feel much more confident rushing into long positions and trying to establish some for the moves ahead. If I saw that with some good negative delta as well, would be nice. But at the moment where price stands, it's not very convincing to me. Okay, and I made a tweet the other day and saying that maybe these lows don't get wiped out, and perhaps these lows don't as well, because of the fact that we are trading within very much a local anomaly here, and that this is the biggest liquidation event that's occurred in crypto's history in terms of dollar amounts. And as a result, it's very, very difficult to sort of think ahead and sort of plan for what's going to occur. And although this screams capitulation to me, I mean, like, it was actually, it was quite staggering to see, right? If I put across some of the alts here, like, I don't know if you guys are aware of just like how staggering the move was. If you look at Atom, like Atom literally went to zero. Like it's baffling. Like it wiped out its all-time low from 2020 and literally went to zero. Like I'm on the minus here, and I'm trying to catch the bottom. So let's see what it actually was. 0.001. Like that is just it's terrifying, to be completely honest. Like anyone that caught 0.001, yeah, you're up 300x at this point, even where price is now, which is pretty staggering, and slightly terrifying for I'd say the crypto market as a whole. To see moves like this is very scary. But in my private live stream that I hosted after this slash in price in my Discord, I said that it does feel very akin to when crude oil went negative back in the COVID crash. You know, it stinks of that, basically. So, you know, in that regard, it does feel like potentially a buying opportunity, but I'm not rushing into anything because we need BTC and ETH to, I mean, like, you know, if you look at the altcoins, pretty much all of them are just like slashed completely. They're absolutely fucked. So at the least, we need BTC and ETH to put in some promising signs from a technical perspective that we are moving firmly to the upside. And then even then, I'm not looking at these markets, right? As you guys know, I look at the weekly strength list that I put together, and if I'm looking, and this is a philosophy that stays true to any market regime that I'm going to operate in from now going forward forever, I imagine. In uptrends, in bull markets, I'll use inverted commas because we're still looking at stuff like this on the screen. But we are technically in a bull market because if you look at you know, totals, for instance, they look great. Okay, we'll cover all of this in a sec. If you look at BTC and ETH, higher time frame, they are still very much in an uptrend. But what I was saying is that in bull markets, I want to focus on longs only in the strongest markets, and in bear markets, shorts only on the weakest markets. So you can see I don't have a weekly weakness watch list here because the main markets, BTC, ETH, and if you look at totals, for instance, still in an uptrend. So I'm still looking for longs, number one. But number two, I'm looking for longs in the strongest markets alone. Okay, I'm not looking to long any weakness. I'm not looking to, you know, catch a knife on the atoms of the market, for instance. I'm looking at the BNBs, right? I'm looking at the BNBs and looking at the, you know, slightly lower time frames and doing my TA on these markets and going, okay, cool, 3 days come down from hyper overextended down at the 83s, and we're now resetting at the midpoint RSI. Daily still around that sort of mid here, and we're hovering above this 1021 low, which is now technically sort of, I suppose, actually that's been wiped there. So yeah, I've got alerts you can see here on BNB, and I'm looking for price to take out this low, for my alerts to go off, to see if there are any divergences in this area, or perhaps we have speed, something like this, and it nukes down. And I've started looking at the Delta templates, courtesy of Augustine. Shout out Augustine, in my Discord, has given a bunch of templates for Alt Delta, and I'm playing around with them a bit more, solely on Agar, right? I'm not using TradingView Delta or anything like that anymore. It's just the data is way too thin, okay? But looking at stuff like this, okay, so if you look at the BNB template here, you can see the price is fairly supported locally from negative delta, but I'm kind of looking for this level here at the 1021s, like I just noted, take it out, produce something potentially like this, right? A nice delta cluster. And then I can think about getting on board, but only getting on board the strongest markets, okay? And if this is a philosophy that you don't yet use in your trading, alongside discipline, alongside patience, alongside stringency, which for me is like the holy trilogy really of in terms of hallmarks of great traders and the characteristics you need. If you don't adopt the philosophy yet of longing the strongest markets in bull runs and the weakest in bear runs, and focusing solely on these markets, then please do so for a few months. Right, do so for a few months and see the change in your performance. Even if it's not making money and winning trades, I guarantee you're abstaining from the losers. I guarantee. The changes that I made personally when I started shifting into this sort of mindset, a huge jump, right? It was just I am a different trader now as a result of it. It means that I'm using a condensed list here, so I know exactly what I'm looking at all times. I know where the price is of all these markets because I scan them at least once a day. And yeah, you're stacking the odds in your favor by longing strength, basically, or vice versa, shorting weakness. But you're doing yourself a massive service, and you're basically just making things, to put it simply, you're making things a lot easier for yourself by focusing on these markets. So BNB is one of them for sure. Let's just have a scan through here. Do the daily. Appreciate it, retired. Kalechi, let me get some clout. What cloud are you trying to farm, my friend? Juggler, you're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. It's nice to hear from people like yourselves that appreciate the content I'm putting out. So BNB, of course, yeah, that's one of the strongest. Even here, looking at the daily, you can see all of these lows here, right? So as I said, this one's been taken, but these two, they don't feel safe to me. They don't feel safe. Again, I could be wrong, right? We're in a very much anomaly in terms of market environment. Could be wrong. Just my 2 cents, and I'd rather err on the side of caution, right? I'm very happy, as I said before, to skip trades, and yeah, H bar is looking decent, but it did take a dive, right? It didn't hold up very well. Okay. Hype as well took a massive beating, right, all the way down to 21s, but the revival's been decent so far. Okay, there's a 6-hour cluster of supply here ish, right? I say ish because the impulse away wasn't particularly forceful, but if we can overcome this, then looking good for this market. MNT, I actually just want to clean up MNT and re-chart this because it's in a very, very interesting spot indeed. Okay, so MNT's been one of the strongest markets, of course, this year really. Okay, so this uptrend started in July. Now look at the weekly. We had previously broken out of this level here. Okay, very clean level. Right, very nice level to work with here. Nice consolidation prior to the breakout. Moved up. Okay, I spoke about this on stream and said how I didn't take this trade here, even though I really wanted to take this weekly breakout. And good job I didn't, as we're now underneath this level here. But regardless, I'm still very interested in this market. So these consolidations. So when I take breakout trades, number one. For those that don't know, let's paint a horizontal breakout level. Ideally, we're looking for 3 touch points. We have 2 on MNT on the weekly. And then the fourth is consolidation, okay, prior to the breakout, whereby the RSI resets itself, well, the oscillators as a whole reset themselves, and we build up the steam and momentum that we need to break through the level. Okay, so let's say something like this, and we have consolidation prior to the breakout. This is sort of textbook. Okay, so for a range, so we've got the range low down here. This is kind of a textbook horizontal break that I'm looking for, and we want the entry to the range to be from the downside. So it is just impulse, cluster, bracketing, consolidation, ranging, whatever you want to call, sideways price action. Then we have the consolidation prior to the break, then we break out, and in clean markets, it's continuation time, okay? But what happens as this consolidation takes place, and let's say we break out like so, is we're actually, if we strip this all back, what we're doing is we're actually creating a pocket of intra-demand, okay? Creating a pocket of intra-demand like so, whereby, I shouldn't have removed this prematurely, but whereby we have a sort of double protection here, okay? In that we have an SR level, being the breakout level, and we have a cluster of intra-demand pretty much exactly at the same spot. So if price comes down, if we do break out, but then there's some market fuckery and the market takes a hit, or that market in isolation just decides to that there aren't enough buyers in this area, then we have two zones here, the breakout level and the demand level, where price could bounce, right? You're seeing that pattern here on MNT, okay? So we have the breakout level, we have the consolidation, and now we have a intra-demand zone on the weekly, so a higher time frame intra-demand zone that's formed. You can see we had this was the tariff nuke, I believe, and now we're coming back and we're tapping into that weekly demand zone, whether you want to call it demand or whether you want to call it weak SD. Like I said before, some traders choose to, especially like a sharp puncture like so that travels so deeply into the zone, classify this as weakened demand. That's fine if you want to place that within your thought process. But regardless, we're coming back, we're retesting this demand zone, and we're also retesting the breakout level or higher time frame SR, okay? At the same time, the weekly has come down from the 80s down to now the 53s. So as you guys know, anything between 55 and 45 is a technical reset by my books. So we have a weekly reset into support and into this intra-demand zone here. So if anybody is picking up spots or perhaps taking a trade based on the higher time frames, taking a position like so, of course waiting for the weekly close, but let's say we close somewhere in this area, either placing the stop the other side of consolidation or giving it a bit more room just in case we come down and sweep the slow with some nasty fuckery, and targeting something like this. It's a sensible trade in my opinion, okay? I wouldn't knock anyone for taking this position. I'm not saying I'm going to per se, but it's sensible in the sense that this is the point at which this market will continue, if it is going to continue on the higher time frames, and it's the point at which you have your clear invalidation in front of you, and it's the point of the highest RR as well on the higher time frames anyway. So yeah, it's about looking at markets like this, looking at the strongest markets, looking at the BNBs. What else? M has been an absolute beast as well. Very, very hard to onboard this market. Okay, so again, you can see the RSI on the daily, clean as it comes, okay, with an exact retest here as support. Again, a note to you guys, if you're not using RSI midpoints in your trading, very, very much advise that you do so. It's a very, very powerful tool once you learn how to read it and use it, and where to make the exceptions and where to really dial in. I mean, you can see here, just came and tested, and then exploded. Okay, just to give an example. This market held up extremely well. This was actually the nuke in here, just this doji candle, which if you look at every other market, I think this and ZEC were probably the most resilient. There was another as well. Oh yeah, no, it was XAUT, which was gold. So yeah, those are the two most resilient on the sell-off, to my knowledge, within this watch list anyway. So it's very much a market to keep an eye on as well. It could, I mean, with this market, it could have been as simple as this, right? Just taking a break, yeah. But I'm assuming you guys aren't in. If you are, props to you, hats off. If not, definitely one to keep an eye on, and just see if any viable setups form, not just on the daily, scan down to the 4 hour, and keep an eye on them. So, like I said at the beginning of the stream, range bound alerts at the highs and the lows. Syrup, again, like, looks fairly decent here. Looks kind of strong. Like, if you just take it to line, doesn't look bad. Okay, we've got this sort of falling wedge, right, in this area, higher time frame falling wedge. But then if you go back to the candles, again, it's just one of those markets that just went to zero, and it just makes me feel a great sense of trepidation, to be honest. Like, having a capitulation and wipeout event is one thing. Nuking a market to zero and then bringing it back is like the Lazarus effect. It scares me. It's not something that I'm used to trading. I've never seen it before. And yeah, I could be completely wrong. It could be the best buying op of all time, and I'm happy to be wrong on this one. But I'm also happy to just be a student, right, and just learn, right? I don't have to apply my capital. I only really put my money on the line these days when I'm very, very sure of the move. And I can't say with any certainty that I'm sure of any of these wipeouts, because they've just been so severe, that for me, it's slightly unprecedented. And maybe in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, I experience another opportunity like this, and I can say, okay, last time I learned from that, and I've sort of garnered some useful information whereby I can take a slightly more educated stab. But in this area, I can't say that. I can't say that wholeheartedly. TRX, what can I say about TRX? Okay, so just run through one of my recent posts. Save me trying to regurgitate it. Keen eyes on TRX in this area, seeing it as a general gauge for the market strength. TRX is historically, I use this word as it's been an uptrend for the last 5 years. So if we go over here, it's just been raging the whole time. Yeah. Been incredibly strong through different market regimes. It's been one of the strongest alt markets this cycle. At this point, we have taken out triple stacked lows. So go back to the 8 hour. This is number 3, technically. Number 2. Number 1. Okay, so we've taken out all of these lows. We've done so with speed. I don't even think I included that in the tweet. We've done so with speed. Got double divergence here across the 8 hour and across the RSI and the Awesome Oscillator on the 8 hour, and a decent cluster of negative delta. Okay, see that in here. Indicative of market selling into limit bids, right? So what I said was, it feels fairly make or break. If it can't pull its socks up in and around this area, I say this as tentative, considering ETH's position, and start pushing up, I say this tentatively rather, and start pushing up, but instead start failing in this area, it's a bleak sign for alts. Until then, stalking this market as it's prudent to do so with the current potential setup that's in formation. Okay, so it's a very interesting market here. Okay, again, conflicted given ETH's position, right? So it's difficult to make a judgment call on this. If we go to the 10, yeah, we can see that the divergences in this area are kind of already locked in. Okay, they're kind of already locked in. Personally, I would have loved to have seen ETH take out its lows and then be able to action this with a bit more confidence. But alas, we are in a sticky spot and there are conflicting signals at the moment on the market. Okay, so yeah, it's a tough time to make a call. I'm not going to tell you how I'm positioned, but as I don't want to influence you guys, but it's a tough time to make a call. And I hope that my sort of thought process, logic, and rationale is helping do so. So XDC on the daily, I basically painted this pretty much here, and it's followed it fairly well in terms of a daily divergence. The problem is that price didn't come down. Okay, it didn't come down low enough. Would have ideally liked to see a sweep in this area, or at least, I mean, for me, it would have just been sweep really. But at the least, you need to see these kind of bodies lower than these kind of bodies. This isn't actually a technical divergence. Okay, so keeping an eye on this market, but again, at the moment, until we take out these lows, there's nothing to be talked about. XMR, very strong market. Okay, so again, another market that I'm keeping a keen eye on. Okay, been very, very strong of late. It was all the talk here. Here it felt like it had died completely, and now we're back up at nearly previous levels, and we're kind of at this breakout level here. Okay, so although this isn't something that I would action per se, because when taking breakout trades, I don't want to see any left side price action in the way, right? Because this can be considered as supply or historical price data that can cause an issue, let's say. So if this wasn't here, then I'd be very much taking this as a breakout trade. I don't like this in this area here, and like I said before, I'm staying stringent in these markets. Okay, despite the chart looking very good, despite the fact that my gut says it's going to move from here and pump to the upside, looking at the RSI positioning, etc. But I also have to stick to my rules to some degree. Okay. So ADC is the last market we can speak about. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't really know what to say here. If you look at the higher time frames, I mean, the weekly is the highest it's ever been. Pretty much scratching the ceiling here, and we've taken out all-time highs. And yeah, I mean, all I can say here is good going to anyone that caught this spot all along. I did not myself on either. And let's hope it's ushering in the alt season, eh? Let's say Zcash is going to be the leader this time and not Doge. Fingers crossed. I'll leave you on that opium. Any questions from you guys before I clock off? If not, I'll catch you all the same time next Saturday. In fact, I won't catch you next Saturday as I'm in Barcelona, so I think we'll skip next week, and I'll see you the following. But are there any questions before I clock off and have some overdue family time? Am I neutral on the market? What do you mean by that? Thought process or positioning? I'm not going to get into my positioning on the market. I don't want to influence you guys and your positions. And this is the same philosophy that I adopt throughout everything in terms of my students, members of my Discord group. I want you guys to learn. You have to learn by first-hand experience. Thought process-wise, yeah, very much, very much, yeah. Completely neutral. Conflicting signals, and also in unprecedented waters. I'm going to take it you were a late joiner to the stream, but I talk about that in great detail, so please rewatch. Okay, guys, take care. You're very welcome, Retired Mary, and the rest of you. Hope you have a lovely weekend and stay safe, stay disciplined, stay stringent, stay kind to yourselves. Take this time to reflect, to study, to catch some air, and yeah, let the dust settle and let the market resolve itself.